Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that brutal OST, because we have just wrapped up with the New Year's Cup for 2024, and now we're here with some very interesting viewer replays. Now, this is a bit of a teaser for what's to come. Now, I assumed it was just Archon mode, like 2v2 Archon mode. It's 3v3, and we have some proper players as well here as well, so it's look, I'm just saying, there's a team of 3 Protoss against a team of 3 Terran, and there's a team of 3 Zerg as well. I think this is a part of a show match series. I'm uncertain, but it looks really good. So keep an eye out. Be ready for those Archon matches. For now, though, we have something different, something that I've never casted before. An AI match. We have TyrT. TyrT, of course, he is our lovely viewer in the chat. Did redeem a replay here of his bots, of his AI, up against a bot called VeTerran-revived. VeTerran-revived versus TyrT. T is for Terran, I believe. So yeah, here we go. We do have a TvT AI versus AI before. So again, I've never really casted AI matches. I don't really know what to expect. Now, these AI are very different to the AI that we saw from Alpha Star, where Alpha Star had certain limitations. Alpha Star, they specifically did limit it in certain ways just so it could emulate and be comparable to human interaction and human like competitiveness. Specifically, it was APM. They limited the APM and the attention and like the screen movements and everything for Alpha Star. I believe that is not the case with these probots. I believe the probots, they don't have any of those limitations. They just go ham and they just go crazy. I could be mistaken. If you're more familiar with the probot scene, let me know. Let me know, because probots, they've been running for many years at this point. Probots, for those wondering, that is a league. That is a league for AI StarCraft gamers, question mark. A league for bots and their AI. I believe Scarlet even has a bot in probots where she, I think it was last year where she coded and made her own bot and was fighting in there and was competing in that. They do duke it out, so yeah, I'm very curious. Very curious what I'm gonna be getting into. Probots go crazy. Yeah. They go crazy about it. They go crazy. Catching up with the chat. I believe Scarlet had a 4-gate bot. Yes, she made a bot that only 4-gated. That is true. That is true. Perfected 4 gates. I've seen probots that increase gas mining by putting a bunker between the refinery and the CC so the SCV can go. Yeah. You rally the SCV like to go bunker to bunker to bunker, and you can actually really efficiently long distance mine with doing that as well. And because like bots have like almost unlimited APM, they can just go ham like that. So yeah, I'm curious as to whether there are limitations and what happens. We'll see as we're going to be getting into this TvT. Here we go. Oh boy. As we're going to be loading into Golden Aura. I believe Golden Aura will be the map of choice. Fun fact, I believe basically these bots have their own ladder. They have their own ladder that they do compete in, which is why it says Golden Aura AIE. So AI edition, not ladder edition. And here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Golden Aura, we have our red Terran AI. Our red Terran AI made by a viewer in the chat, made by Tyr. It is TyrT. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Terran. Oh my god, it's constantly rerallying its workers. Oh my god. We have the blue Terran AI. It is VeTerran. VeTerran, I believe, created by Revived. Revived is great. But you can see here, the workers active in the mineral lines. You can see that, oh my god, we're going to be going for a proxy racks across the map. But you can see that because we have constant re-rallying here, and they're talking to each other. We have constant re-rallying. That's why the numbers are changing constantly here in the mineral line, just because you can see the workers just constantly just like manually targeting their mineral patches. So very interesting. Like, already I'm fascinated. It's gonna be a double gas opener here by Tyr, which is a pretty aggressive way to open up in TvT. But of course, we have more aggression as we're going for a proxy 2x1 at each third base location. Okay, let's go. So it's going to be a proxy 2x here from VeTerran in a very interesting manner here as well. Meanwhile, because of the double gas opener, this means faster factory. So Tyr will have enough to defend, or he will have the tools to defend, and he will clearly have the micro to defend. But we'll see how this all does unfold. Meanwhile, SCV scout across the map does confirm that the Rax is missing, so Tyr is aware that a proxy is a big potential. A proxy is definitely a possibility here that he has to deal with. Meanwhile, we have Reapers on the way. So proxy 2x Reaper makes plenty of sense from VeTerran. And likewise, we're going for, yep, a Rax into factory. With this, when the Hellion comes out, we should be able to easily deal with this. Boys will have to be pulled to defend as well, as we're going Marine first, not Reaper.
Command center upgrade complete.
Interesting. Okay, so it's going to be Marines to defend. This is typically not ideal. This is going to be a tough hold here for Tyr. Behind this factory back at home, first Reaper is soon to arrive. Dip since the main two Marines are in position. So far, good target firing here on the Reaper. And the Marines, they will be... there we go. They will not be chasing. Bunker is on the way. Tyr has identified, of course, that this is a proxy. Interesting that we didn't actually scout. So Tyr, instead of scouting, he did assume the worst, and he started up the bunker instead. We're going Tech Lab first, by the way. Bold move. Oh, as the Reaper. Okay, we do see some limits. Interesting. We have some limitations here with these Reapers. So if this was a person, the Reapers would have avoided this bunker and they would have skirted around the edge and gone for the mineral line. We can see this Reaper doing that, but these two Reapers didn't. So really interesting AI decision making, where they were dancing and dealing with this bunker, and one Reaper goes down. But again, these Reapers, they're kind of bugging out here. They should have been getting into the mineral line, and damage should have been done. This is why that Marine as an opener would have really struggled if this was a human, just because you avoid the Marines, you go into the mineral line, you kill SCVs. But again, because he's another Reaper goes down. Oh my god, VeTerran, Bappy! Oh, there's a bug in there's a virus. The bunkers, they just... Wait, was it the bunkers? Was that bugging out the AI? Was that a part of it? With like the mispathing? I don't know, but anyway, the bunkers, they just kept going up and down. Tank arrives and Tyr has defended. VeTerran, again, struggling a little bit here when it comes to dealing with this bunker. Oof, oh my god. Massive tank shot goes off. Tyr gonna be able to defend. Meanwhile, behind this, we are transitioning. Interesting follow-up here. So it was a factory into tanks. We have our CC on below ground. The CC is very delayed. So VeTerran chose to go factory into starport before expanding. So a very aggressive follow-up here. To be fair, Tyr is also on one base, going into fast combat shields. Wait, what? Wait, what? We're prioritizing combat shields over stim. Very interesting choice here by the AI. Stim is usually prioritized just because it gives you so much damage potential. So very interested that we're going into combat shields instead. Behind this, we're turtling up and going into two bases. Meanwhile, the Raxes are floating back home, and we are expanding. So already, like, I'm fascinated by some of the the and if or statements that are like being shown here. Like, that's like my primitive understanding, but yeah, like some of the decision making from like the micro and the movements of some of these units. Regardless, Natural's getting up and running. CC is going to be floating on over, and we are establishing our natural base. Now with this tech lab on the starport, we already have we had a Raven opener, which is okay. Oh, that's what are we doing with these bunkers? Okay, we put one back home, one here out on the map. We're gonna be going for a Raven into Banshee play. No cloak, only a single Banshee. Now a single Banshee isn't bad, but to go for a delayed Banshee though is interesting. Usually if you go for a single Banshee opener, you have one Banshee to harass across the map when the army moves out. That is typically what's done. Like players like Maru, players like Bjorn, they open up single Banshee. Again, just to pose a threat to the mineral line after the Terran player moves out. You can get a surprising amount of damage done with it. This is different though. We went for a Raven into Banshee into Viking. So yeah, and we're not moving out with the Banshee either. So really interesting build choice here. The army's moving just to establish the third base. And now we're going back into Banshees. Banshees and Cloak. So a really odd way to get here, but like this does make sense. Like going Cloak Banshees, like there is value to be had. Armory is on the way. We got the eBay. It looks like we got the eBay just for turrets, but we didn't make any turrets. So we got the eBay just in case we needed turrets, question mark. We're rushing into +1 vehicle armor. Are we playing mech? But we have, wait, what? We're rushing into +1 vehicle armor, but we have 2 Raxes, and we have potential for stim. Interesting. Very interesting. Meanwhile, back at home, we're just building up that tank count, getting into 2-port. Let's go. Should be rushing into 2-port. Yeah, 2-port Viking production, which makes sense. So this does look like mech, kind of. This is really weird. I'm really thrown off guard. So, to try to gather our bearings a little bit when it comes to the game state. One, we have our red Terra player here, Tyr. He looks like he's going mech, but if you remember, he invested into both stim and combat shields. He got both upgrades, but he's going like tank Viking, which is a thing. Like tank Viking is a thing, but we spent a lot of resources on upgrades that were not really a factor. And there we go. Now we're getting to additional Raxes. So it's Fire. Okay, so it's Fire tank, but with a really heavy investment and a big prioritization of tanks early on. So really interesting kind of way to get here. It is Biotank though, nonetheless. Well, we also have vehicle armor being upgraded and being prioritized over +1 attack, by the way, which is crazy. Likewise, VeTerran is going for something very similar, but he has a second factory. So yeah, there we go. Straight up mech. This makes more sense. Straight up mech here from VeTerran. Fun fact: going tank Viking is a thing. I believe TY did it recently in GSL. TY's done it. Ryung's done it. Gumiho's done it. Tank Viking. Sorry, did I say tank Viking? Tank Banshee. Tank Banshee is a thing that is done at the pro level, like every now and then. But we're not harassing. We're chilling back at home, and we are spread quite thin. Like the tank positioning makes sense. It's like we have to protect our bases, but our tanks are just not really doing much at the natural. Here we go. Tyr is pushing. He's going for a split push, even pushing towards the 3rd base and the 4th at the same time. Banshees will defend. We get the scan. The Banshees being zoned away by the Viking at the same time here on the left-hand side. Auto turrets are thrown down, and we are threatening this base. Big tank shot's going to be going up. But we're getting within range. Up. Up. Looks like one tank may go down, and yeah, this army's going to get cleaned up. Ooh, a rough push there by Tyr. Not really respecting the tank positioning here of VeTerran. Likewise, towards the 3rd base, he's also being cleaned up. Ravens doing what they can. They take down the tank. Banshee should fall here to the Vikings. We're going to be able to maintain this position. Banshee comes in once again. Oh, doesn't get the tank. And will be shut down. So many Vikings going to be going down. Sorry, so many Banshees going down. But Tyr, he's going to run out of steam. Does lose his tanks. And in the end, he doesn't take down the 3rd. So with that, VeTerran will have a slightly better economy here. Shaping that tank. Does have the better economy, going for a big counter-attack with tanks and Thors. 4th base being taken on location. But again, Tyr is down in the economy, has suffered quite a big army loss, and VeTerran going for a massive counterattack. We have Marines. We have Stim. Oof. Dude, push on forward. No Stim activated on those Marines, by the way. First 2 tanks going to be going down. I mean, good tanking overall by the Marines. Thor is doing surprisingly well here. We have Thor versus Thor. Tyr going to be able to hold on. Does hold. Does barely survive there. And the game is going to settle for a moment. For a moment here. Again, it is mainly mech. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, really, I'm kind of perplexed. By the opener of Tyr. Like, here we're settling into, like, mech v mech. You know, it's going to be, like, tank Viking versus tank Viking. That should be where we're headed. Really interesting that we're prioritizing Thors. Like, we're heavily reliant on Thor production behind this. Meanwhile, I'm not too fond of this. Like, this feels like, how the AI has been coded. It's like, okay, we saw it earlier where we had, like, 2 tanks here at the 3rd, 2 tanks at the 4th, and 2 tanks at the natural, where it's not really protecting much, but it's, like, protecting bases nonetheless. We'll see if it gets punished. As we're getting a 5th. 5th base is on the way, doubling down on Viking production, getting into +1 ship weapons. We did invest quite heavily into Ravens with Hyperflight rotors, but we're done with Raven production at this point. What's really odd to me is that even though we're fixated on Vikings, it looks like VeTerran still wants the option to go back into Ravens and back into Banshees, so there are no reactors. No reactors on this. And we even have a medevac on the way? We're still making Marines. we're getting combat shields. What's happening? Combat shields is being researched. Okay. Okay. It's a bit of everything. We have Hellions. We have a Cyclone. We have a bit of everything here out of our blue Terran player. Meanwhile, here we go. The mass Viking. Oh my god. We have 9 Vikings. We take control of the skies. The Thors are helping in that respect. Tanks are getting within range. They do siege up a little bit late to siege though. Yeah, good tank shots going off nonetheless. Vikings pushing forward. Thors, they do barely survive. Overall, looks like TyrT will hold on to the high ground. Takes down a tank, takes down multiple tanks. Honestly, really good auto turret usage. I've seen it a couple of times here with these Ravens. Like, it's really interesting because neither player has interference matrix. Like, even though both players have been investing into... Wait, why are we getting afterburners? Why are we getting afterburners? Is this a lot? Wait, what? Afterburners? Didn't we get rid of this? This may be maybe that's why we didn't get interference matrix. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. New map pool, previous patch. Okay, this makes a little bit more sense. A little bit. Afterburners on the way because why not? Marines stimming on forward here. I mean, pushing forward, never mind. I don't think we've seen either player use stim. It's so weird seeing these Marines. Oh my god. Like their movements. Always staying at like the edge of range. Thor's pushing forward. Tyr shutting this army down. Takes down the Thor. Oh my god. And solid shutdown here from Tyr. Behind this, getting zone 5th base on location. VeTerran getting a 6th. VeTerran does have the better economy in a way. Does have more bases. Does have more mules. But these have been rough fights here from VeTerran. Oh, yeah, the tanks, they're overextending here. We're committing though. We want to commit. But here come the reinforcements, and VeTerran is just bleeding out so much. Likewise, because of all these Vikings, like we keep trying to stay at the edge of range. Like these Ravens and Vikings are so bold, but they're just being punished for it. Like we're bleeding out so much. How many have we lost? 14. 14 Vikings have gone down for both players. The Banshees as well. So VeTerran a little bit overconfident. Just continues to just rally across the map. And he's just bleeding out so much. All the Hellions going to be going down as well. Behind the stim is on the way. Let's go. Because now is the time for stim. Wow, Tyr shutting this down. Taking control of the skies once again. Did bleed out a lot of these Vikings to the Thor. But overall has been just trading more efficiently here. Does seem to be the case. Yeah. Trading more efficiently gas-wise. And this getting more bases up and running. Continuing his Thor production. Thor, Viking, Marine. Everything anti-air. Very few tanks, which is interesting again. With how we're constructing this and how we're spending our money. Tanks could be falling. I mean, it does feel like... It feels like Tyr is like hyper fixated on air control, which makes sense in TvT. Hyper fixated on air control. Meanwhile, I'm not too fond of these Vikings. Like the fact that VeTerran keeps making Vikings is hurting his Viking. Sorry, he keeps making medevacs. He keeps making medevacs. It's hurting his Viking production. And likewise, again, like no reactors here, just pure tech labs. Despite the fact that we haven't made like a Banshee in a long time, or a Raven in a long time. Meanwhile, across the map, VeTerran still bleeding out a lot of units here. Does siege up, is going to be able to get a couple of big volleys off. But again, like it feels like VeTerran his army is just so hyper aggressive. His units in general. They all just want to go in, Papi. Look at him. They just want to go. It's like, calm down. Chill. And again, because of this, that's why VeTerran has been bleeding out so many units, and he's just never built up a death ball of an army. He's never built up an army. Meanwhile, Tyr is maxed. Tyr is fully maxed out at this point. with these meta decks, I want to see some Thor juggling. I want to see it. Goal base being taken. We're going to shut this down. We're in position. VeTerran. I mean, there's nothing here to defend, but there's something telling him not to push in. Goes for the scan. He sees that there's nothing on the high ground. Does move forward. He's going to be restricting these Marines quite a bit. There we go. We have the siege. But as VeTerran is dancing with reinforcements, the main army of Tyr is pushing. We bypass the army of VeTerran. We get onto the 5th base. Big tank shots going off. We have to turn back around. We have to race back home. Decent tank position. The Thors are getting stuck on each other. Thors are getting stuck, but all the Vikings, all of them go down. Yeah, VeTerran just stuck in a really awkward position between the armies. The Viking count gets reset. The Thors are pushing forward, and Tyr, he is looking to run away with this. Takes down the CC. The Thor is here. Focus on the Raven. That Raven has been alive all game, by the way. As tanks are falling, SCVs as well. And the constant... like, Tyr's army has been doing a little bit as well, where they do like patrol back and forth like this on the edge of range. But VeTerran, it's every unit, mate. Every unit. Oh my god. So here we go. Tyr pushing forward in between the bases towards the natural as well, and he's already broken the army. Like Tyr, he's maxed out. He's rallying everything across the map. He has top right, and he's taking bottom left. With that, we just rally the Ravens and Vikings in as well. And Tyr, he may not be able to break into the natural because of the reinforcements. Yeah, big tank volley is going to be going off. But he is going to be able to break the economy here of his opponents. Meanwhile, fun fact, Tyr, he's investing into 3-3. All the upgrades. 3-3 for bio, for mech. For the tanks, for the Thors. Totally up. I mean, he's got the money for it. He's got the economy for it. As he brings down the final mining base here of VeTerran down to nothing. No economy. He's got a handful of SCVs remaining. The way that these AIs are coded, I don't think they GG. I'm not too sure. I don't know if they GG or not. I don't know if they tap out or if we have to kill everything. As we are pushing forward into the natural. Natural base going to be going down, and there's one Hellion. Let's go. One Hellion. We're doing what we can, Fathy. We're putting in the work, getting our cardio in, and we're breaking into the main. There's still a couple of buildings left out here, gases, turrets. They have been spotted by Tyr's AI, but obviously they're not being prioritized. So we're pushing into the natural. +3 is going to be denied. And VeTerran, he's out of money. He can't produce anything. He can make one tank. One tank is on the way. Let's go. And I would love to know how VeTerran's like AI was coded, because it did like, based on what we were seeing, it felt like, especially when it comes to his production. I mean, we can talk about it. We can theorize. Like I know nothing for sure, of course. But it does feel like Tyr, as GG gets called. We don't kill everything. GG is going to be called as the final CC goes down, and Tyr, his AI, will take the game. GG. GG, well played. Let's go. Let's go. That was crazy. That was really impressive. That was fun. Congratulations to Tyr and his AI for taking that game. I'm really curious. Obviously, I'm just speculating as an amateur, as a layman. It did feel like Tyr's AI was coded in such a way where potentially, in a certain matchup, we have a composition in mind. It felt like there's like an end goal. There's like a framework or a template of like what you should be working towards at certain stages of the game. Which is why we ended up with like Bio, Tank, Viking, and I guess Thor. The Thors were a little bit odd, but like the Thors were mixed in as well. But it felt like an army, right? Whereas we saw VeTerran's army be very chaotic when it came to its army composition. We saw like not just the initial Banshees, but we saw like Hellions mix in, we saw Cyclones mix in like randomly as well. Medevacs at weird timings. It did feel like maybe the way that it was responding was like depending on the units that it was seeing, like it would have maybe like certain like counters to the units that it was seeing, which is why we would invest in certain directions, and the army was a little bit more haphazard. That's what it looks like. I don't know for certain. That's just my guess. That's my assumption that like maybe that's how the armies were being constructed on either side. But there were some constants, which was interesting to me, right? Where both players, both AIs still invested into bio. They both still invested into both stim and combat shields. It was much later for VeTerran, much earlier for Tyr, but they both still invested into bio despite the fact that they were playing mech. So that was really interesting to me. That like that was still very much so a thing that was happening. That's also why like medevacs were also being sprinkled in. What's interesting is that even though we had bio, even though we had medevacs, there was no drop play. There was no drop play whatsoever. It was main pushes. There was a moment where we saw VeTerran's AI try to juggle Thors with the medevacs. We did see that, but there was like no drop play. There were split pushes. That was fun. I love the split push in general. And now the units were interacting. But yeah, like that was really interesting to me. And same when it came to the initial proxy defense, right, where it did look a little bit like VeTerran's AI was bugging out with his proxy Turax, and that was like an example of where of potentially some limitations there, or when it comes to the coding, like didn't recognize that there was still potential for damage with his Reapers. Like 100% put a pro gamer in the position that VeTerran was in with the proxy Turax, and 100% Tyr dies. Tyr dies 100%. Tyr, he went for, as a response after confirming the proxy, or assuming it was a proxy, he went double gas, racks into factory. He went tech lab first on the factory and marine production. Like, you just die. There's no shot you survive against like Björn or Cure or anyone like that if you're being proxy 2-racks. Like that was a crazy reaction, but it worked. It worked because the Reapers didn't try to bypass the bunker. They didn't try to rush past the army or anything like that. It didn't look like they were they had like prioritized worker kills, like SCV damage. It looked like because there was an army there was something like fighting back, like forcing the Reapers to not commit just because there were units in position, like, and they had to fight. So yeah, really really interesting how all of that was playing out. It was fascinating. It was cool. A lot of fun. GG. Again, I don't really watch Probots. I don't really watch the AIs face off against each other, but it's really intriguing, and I think what I love about a lot of these AIs as well, which I'm aware of, is the fact that a lot of them have their own like quote unquote personalities, right? Like some code them more aggressive, like obviously like they're all individualistic, right? Like they're all made by individual people, and they code them in different ways and they make them in different ways, and it's also that also adds a little bit of flair and a little bit of individuality to them, so it's cool. Cool. GG. I'm catching up with the chat.